Friends, it's a privilege today to be able to share with you again on walking with God. I'd like to add to that in the garden. I know many of you are not gardeners, or perhaps you don't have the opportunity to garden, but still the idea that I've been trying to communicate to you is that wherever we live, it is our garden. God has placed us there, and we are to till it and to manage it and to do the very best we can with it. When I read the Bible, I find that there are many references to people walking with God. There is Enoch, there is Abraham, there is Noah, and there is Jesus Christ. Much of Christ's life was walking in the land of Palestine. And it is our life as well. As a boy, I spent a lot of time walking. We walked to grade school, some 2 miles in one direction. It was always an exciting experience, walking, because then it gave me an opportunity to look at some of nature and some of the things that were out there. On that walk, which was through the countryside, there were trees, and there were animals. There were bugs, of course, but also the wonderful privilege of being able to think. One of the aspects of walking that I had was in Michigan weather, it often rained. And I had the opportunity, much to the chagrin and disappointment of my father, to walk through mud puddles. If I were to ask you today, do you enjoy walking through mud puddles? I think that most of you in your childhood enjoyed that experience. I did, but my dad never appreciated that because it meant that he had to repair the shoes that got wet and sometimes fell apart. But walking is not only just something we do, but it's an art. And it also sometimes calls for more responsibility. I was never a Boy Scout, but I've always admired the fact that it seems to be the Boy Scout that is there to take a jacket off and to lay it in the mud puddle and then have the lady in waiting walk over it on dry land. That's our theme today for our Walking with God on dry land. Truly, in life, as we walk, we would like to have dry land. We'd like the land that we walk on to be secure and foundational. We would like it to be beautiful and also providing us with all the help that we need to make our journey the very best it can be. Think in terms of your own life as you walk. Do you find sometimes that walking is not as easy as you would like to have it? There are stones in the path. Sometimes there are mud puddles. Sometimes there might even be snakes or wild animals. We oftentimes had that in Michigan. But our goal and desire is to have a walk that is free of trouble and of obstacles. I like to think of our walk with God every day as the course of life that we have. Now, we all know that sometimes that walk isn't easy. Things get in the way. There's sickness. There are failures. There are mistakes that we make. And then we carry the burdens of those mistakes, guilt and shame. That can destroy a walk with God. And we long to get out of that miry clay that the psalmist talks about so that we might walk on dry land. I want to read for you today a passage from the book of Exodus. That's where much of this discussion comes from. We'll be moving on, though, as time goes on. But today, we read about the experience that the Israelites had when they left the land of Egypt and began their journey to the promised land. In a way, the promised land is something we all want. A land of milk and honey, beauty, prosperity, goodness, fulfillment. Listen to what happened to the case of the Israelites as they were troubled by the fact that the Egyptians were pursuing them after they left the land of Egypt. And this one encounter is what brings us into our discussion today. It is found in the book of Genesis, and we look at the 14th chapter, the 21st verse. Then Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and all that night the Lord drove the sea back with a strong east wind and turned it into dry land. The waters were divided, and the Israelites went through the sea on dry land, with a wall of water on their right and on their left. I find it kind of interesting that the Bible refers here 2 times to dry land. Obviously, that's the ideal, the dry land. We would like life to be kind of like on the dry land, secure, stable, untroubled. We'd like to walk in life that way. But it isn't always that way. Sometimes there's a sea in front of us, and that sea presents all kinds of trouble. It presents mud, getting stuck in that mud, getting our shoes dirty, not being able to walk with ease, but finding it difficult to move ahead. That is where the Israelites were. They looked over that sea and they said, it's impossible for us to be successful and to find the fulfillment of our lives. And then God said to Moses, Moses, stretch forth your hand. And as he did, the sea parted. And there before the Israelites was the dry land, onto which they were able to walk across that sea. Friends, would you like that dry land? Would you like a life that is free of trouble, problems, fear, uncertainty, anxiety, unhappiness? Would you like the security that every day you face is a day of comfort and what we would call the dry land? I must be honest, that's the kind of life I would like. But I also know it's not always that way. But then we are told that the Lord comes. He parts the sea of discourse, trouble, guilt, shame, sinfulness, all the imperfections that life surrounds us with, and gives us the dry land upon which to walk. I would pray today that you would know that dry land. It's such an important part of your life that God offers. By the power of his Spirit, by the truth of his word, and by the certainty that Christ has come to open that path of dry land for you and for me. God bless you today. I hope you'll tune in again next week as we continue our study and as well our presentations of walking with God in the garden. Have a wonderful week, and God bless you.